stickers. I should know, because I had most of them. There's all these folders and pens and backpacks and stationery and stickers. Of course, stickers.
No one would expect that a brand whose entire identity revolved around rainbows, unicorns, puppies, and making little girls happy was known as a rainbow gulag behind the scenes. The word in Tucson is that you don't want to work for the Lisa Frank Company. It all started and ended with Lisa's diabolical husband and business partner, James Green. Intimidating employees, throwing chairs, profanity-laden rants, and abusive nicknames were all typical behavior from Green.
He just took such advantage of us.
Who's gonna survive till next week? Absolute power corrupts absolutely.
They say.
Hey guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel here. It's me here, Comrade Lavender here, and today I'm back with another anti-capitalism deep dive true crime video. Today I want to talk about the true crime case of the Lisa Frank files, pure evil, capitalism, exploitation, hostile work environment, toxic work environment, etc. So let's get started in this YouTube video. Before we get started, all my YouTube videos related to this topic will be on the screen right now, right here, if you'd like to check them out. So let's get started in this YouTube video topic. So if you're into childhood nostalgia, or the kidcore aesthetic, toy core aesthetic, cartoon core aesthetic, or the rainbow core aesthetic, you probably know what this brand and company is, and what I'm talking about. If you were a sticker lover, a colorful stationery connoisseur, or a passionate about rainbows and neon colors in the 1990s and early 2000s to mid-2000s, chances are you were obsessed with Lisa Frank. You would buy their folders and notepads for back-to-school supplies with the colorful animal designs on them, like the rainbow jaguar, rainbow tiger, or the golden retriever dog, etc. The brand's bright designs, plastered on everything from posters to backpacks, notebooks, folders, captured the eyes and hearts of many kids of the era. The brand seemed to fade out a little bit, but not much. The kidcore nostalgia has once again brought that passion back. For women in their 20s, 30s, and 40s, Lisa Frank's name also conjures a spectacle of koala bears clinging to rainbow-flavored ice cream cones, neon tiger cubs frolicking with surfing penguins, dolphins, and of course, majestic unicorns prancing before a swirl of hearts and stars. But the company is now a shadow of what it used to be, and its fall from grace a story of scandal, greed, toxic workplace environments, and abuse is stark in contrast to its shiny, happy aesthetic, aka rainbow capitalism. The story behind the brand wasn't all sugar, spice, unicorns, rainbows, and everything nice. Just like any other capitalism company, their ultimate goal is to make money and profits at the end of the day. I'm going to be talking solely about what was wrong with the company, and, I care about the victims of capitalism and their stories. So, Lisa Frank's line of products were folders, pencil cases, erasers, trapper keepers, and notebooks, etc. were so popular that the company was raking in over $60 million in a year in sales during its peak in the late 1990s. According to court documents, shareholder distributions to Lisa Frank and James Green totaling more than $100 million between 1995 and 2005 alone. But the company fell off hard. So what exactly happened? Is this simply the inevitable outcome for a stationery company in a paperless world? Is what left just a rotting corpse of a fad that died over a decade ago? No, alleged former employees who pointed to the company's opportunity to capitalize on 90s nostalgia. Lisa Frank is notorious in Tucson as the world's shittiest employer, said Caroline, who considers applying for one at the many job openings at the company she saw advertised when she moved to Tucson in 2001. But she decided against it after speaking with the locals. Every single person I talked to advised me to avoid Lisa Frank and working there at all costs. She said, I didn't know a single person who had not heard horror stories about the workplace environment there. I don't know if it's possible to really communicate how bad the reputation was in that town, Caroline stressed, before adding, every person who worked there seemed to have a case of post-traumatic stress disorder from it. According to former employees, the office was a place of silence, and co-workers were not allowed to speak to one another. The management secretly and illegally record phone calls an inter-office behemoth publication called Frankly Speaking informed employees how they were to behave, particularly regarding how they were expected to interact with their boss, CEO James Green. Memos are frequently circulated with new, increasingly restricted company policies. No visitors, including family members, were allowed. The penalty for any violations ranged from verbal abuse to name-calling to screaming to automatic termination and firing to even more bizarre restrictions. According to the bombshells from the new documentary called Glitter and Greed, the Lisa Frank story, the employees felt overworked and exploited. Phil Sire, a former employee with diabetes, recalls being given a hard time about the meal breaks he needed to take at routine times for his health. I've been diabetic since I moved to Arizona, so I needed to be on a schedule for lunch and dinner. But then they had us start working later in the evenings. I at least had to leave for dinner, but they didn't really like that. It was probably Rhonda that said, "Where are you going at 6 or 5? We hired you to work," he recalls, doing what he needed for his health. He says it wasn't long until I was laid off by Rhonda. She wouldn't tell me why. Rowlett says the company didn't do anything illegal ever. Sure, their attitude, not working when we asked them to work, they've been fired for that. It wasn't a great place to work. It was for some people, if you wanted to get in there and really do something. Lisa or James, neither of them limited what you could do, she says. If you had the ability, there it was your place, but if you had to work hard, really hard. In another instance, a man in the finance department had a heart attack and died at his desk. Employees were expected to continue going on about their workday and continue working after the shocking incident. All of a sudden you hear a commotion upstairs. He pitched over dead. He had a heart attack, 51 years old. The paramedics tried to do CPR on him, but he was already dead. We're all still working, Sire recalls. We didn't get the rest of the day off. This guy just died, and they're carrying him out like a football team. Next man up, and got on with business. He deserves so much more than that. One time, after discovering that someone left the office 10 minutes early, an enraged Green instructed the warehouse manager to put chairs and padlocks on all the downstairs doors so that the staff cannot escape. There was this air of fear there, said Marcia, the one-time graphic designer for LFI, who remembered the office as being cold, both figuratively and cold literally. It just seemed very clear, the mentality of it. Keep it ice cold, keep the people miserable and on edge. It was just insane, totally insane, she said. And if working there was difficult, so was leaving. The company allegedly often failed to give promised servants packages, fought unemployment benefits, and former employees had to sue for the final paychecks or sales commissions, as evidenced by public records of numerous civil judgments entered against LFI, in addition to the bad publicity stemming from a series of ongoing lawsuits from local contractors and builders who claimed they hadn't been paid for the $4 million worth of work on the corporate headquarters. LFI's image problem stemmed from the company's unusually high turnover rate, with numerous former employees and workers available to poison the well-health first-hand accounts of how unpleasant it was to work there. The others corroborating those stories. It was a revolving door of different employees. Jacob said the company's turnover in 4 years that he was employed in the 40-person creative department. He estimated that the group may have changed over the last 2 or 3 times. It was just unbelievable. 1 year, almost a third of the entire staff turned over. According to Susan Russo, who worked in the sales and marketing manager department, over 80 people walked out the door between February 2003 and December 2004, most without notice because they had been treated so poorly. Even an otherwise positive 2004 Arizona Daily Star article about the company's 25th anniversary couldn't help but point out how seemingly odd it was that after a series of massive layoffs in which the company slimmed down from 400 employees to just 100, LFI still couldn't retain its staff and employees. The turnover issue was due in part to random flared temper firings, according to sources who worked at the company. But many people quit because they just couldn't handle the oppressive workplace atmosphere, just like Justin, who worked as an illustrator in the early 2000s.
But something else that you should know is we are like not letting this stop us. We are moving forward. And by this, I guess I'm being so vague. You know what? I'm tired, actually. I'm literally so tired of saying the words Lisa Frank and of saying hotels.com and of talking about this. Like, you know, I'm a person and an artist and just a creative person and just a very sensitive human in general, and I have so many things that I want to talk about and I want to spend my time thinking about, and all of those things I mentioned are not how I want to spend my time, but an injustice was done. And so with regard to Lisa Frank, we are still pursuing the art theft plagiarism that went down, and we're, you know, just figuring out our legal options. It's very complicated.
The Tale of Tassel Fairy in Cloudland. Local artist charges appropriation by Lisa Frank when it comes to the art and style. Sometimes there is a fine line between creative inspiration and outright theft. Boundaries can get blurry, especially in terms of inspiration. With an emerging artist influenced by a more established figure gets noticed by their hero, and in turn the hero ends up influenced by them, it can cause uncertainty about who concocted what. It's a tedious place to tread, and where local artist/designer Inemia Macalo, a colorful social media creative known as Tassel Fairy, has found herself after calling out the popular eye-popping brand Lisa Frank, the company, for directly appropriating her ideas. Her style consists of rainbow bright clothing and hip-length multicolored braided hair. She's like a living, breathing cartoon character and calls herself Tassel Fairy, her superhero name. Her alter ego emerged after 2017 creation of Cloudland, a livable canvas made of her 650 square foot downtown LA apartment. Cloudland's rooms are painted in rainbow colors and decorated with her own self-tassel garlands. There's a wall covered in handmade silk flowers and an abundance of glitter everywhere, sprinkled homages to childhood icons such as Hello Kitty, My Little Pony, and Care Bears. Her unique YouTube home tour has generated over 1.2 million views since it was first posted in May 2017. She explains that while the nature, rainbows, and wild animals inspire the most, so does the nostalgia. I'm 36 and take references from my childhood in the 80s and 90s. I associate all those colors with happiness, she says, and I also have my own experience as a human and a black woman. I share things because I felt like I had to hide to be accepted by others. Once I figured out that's all a lie, I decided that I was going to do everything to share that. She was greatly flattered when one of her childhood art heroes, Lisa Frank, the company, became one of her 259,000 followers on Instagram. When friends and fans began notifying her in mid-October that Hotels.com was advertising a special 2-week pop-up room, the Lisa Frank Suite, she was dismayed to learn and discover that it was basically a replica of Cloudland. But there was more. The copycat room would be located in a sister building directly across the street from her own residence, owned by the same management company as her building, called Capital Foresight. This was, in her mind, no coincidence. The hotel room, listed at $199 per night, $332 with taxes and fees, sold out its entire 2-week run in less than an hour's time. 4 days later, she got the courage to email the Lisa Frank company to inquire about the coincidence. They didn't respond, but did immediately delete and erase all their Lisa Frank's public Instagram compliments and comments to the artist. She was thankful that she had taken screenshots. It broke my heart because I'm kind of naive. I trust everyone. I see the good in everyone. I struggle to talk about this because I dedicated my platform to talking about my positive experience on things. It was kind of like a knife to the gut, a knife to the heart, knife to the back. And if things couldn't get any worse, to add insult to injury, she, who has been living in the last 3 years at Cloudland with her husband as a creative partner, was served in eviction papers from her building's management company during the Lisa Frank fight and kicked out of her apartment.